There's a lot to unpack here. This was a very, 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 very busy deadline day. So I'm going to go through these trades. I was going to do individual videos for trades, but just the sheer number of them, it doesn't make any sense. Compared to last year felt a lot less chaotic. And yet, has anything fundamentally changed? Do we come out of today saying, I was thinking going into the trade deadline, this team was going to win the Stanley Cup. Now coming out of it, I think this team's going to win the Stanley Cup. Some smart moves made, though, so I'm going to go through ones I've already done individual videos on. Eric Howla, Lucas Wallmark, Chase Prisky, E2, Luostrainen. Okay. Goes to Florida in exchange for Vincent Trocheck. Carolina felt that they had an extra forward here, and they clearly had soured on Eric Howla. So Howla goes over to Florida. We'll see if he can find the goal form he showed early in the season. Now, that trade for me is a win for Carolina, but to me, Carolina kind of wins the day. We'll go through it. Jean-Gabriel Pageau goes to the New York Islanders. He also signs a 6-year, $30 million extension, $5 million cap hit. You know what? For what Pageau does, Lou Lamoriello did very well. But I still think Ottawa wins this trade. Why? Because they were going to lose him for nothing. So they get a first, they get a second, and if the Islanders win a Stanley Cup, they also get a third. The Islanders likely not going to win a Stanley Cup, but hey, that first and a second for Pageau is about the most people got for today, although really, Tampa, my God. Montreal Canadiens traded a Nate Thompson in exchange for a 2021 fifth from the Philadelphia Flyers. I thought they did well enough there. They had a press conference with Mark Bergevin. He seemed a little bit testy with the media. Not happy with some of the questions he's getting. Media kind of basically saying, didn't you say we were going to be done with this crap by now? And him going, next year we could be good. Yeah, but shouldn't we be good now? That was kind of the gist of it. Patrick Marleau acquired by the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for a third rounder in 2021, which becomes a second rounder if they win the Stanley Cup. I don't know that they're going to win the Stanley Cup, but adding what they did today won't take them further away from it. Calle Rosen goes to Toronto in exchange for Michael Hutchinson. There has been a collective scream from Toronto fan base. The Toronto fan base, I think, was expecting something that wasn't going to happen. I don't think the market was there for Tyson Barrie. He's a rental. He hasn't had a great year. And I don't know that there are very many teams that were in on him. Vancouver may have been, but there's an issue with Vancouver that we're going to get to at the end of this, which may have taken Vancouver out of it. Wayne Simmons is now a Buffalo Sabre in exchange for next year's 5th-round draft pick going to New Jersey. Buffalo thinks they're still in it, and you know what? With what Toronto did today and with what Florida did today, I think they're still in it too. I do. I think they're still in it. Derek Grant's now a Philadelphia Flyer. The Anaheim Ducks get Chris Crisulo and a 2020 4th-round pick. And Kyle Crisulo. Anyways, I'll get there. 2024th, I think Philadelphia did well. Derek Grant, 14 goals this year. Pretty darn good player. Boston acquires Nick Ritchie in exchange for Danton Heinen going to Anaheim. As I said to Yvonne a few times, all the jerks have to play in Boston. If a player's considered to be kind of a jerk throughout NHL history, whether it's right or it's wrong, you got to be a Bruin at some point. So he'll look like a Bruin. We'll see how it goes with Nick in Boston. It is kind of a shame Heinen's going. He's had his stretches where he's been pretty darn good for Boston, but I understand why Boston moved on from him as well. The Edmonton Oilers, well, they pick up Andreas Athanasiou and Ryan Kuffner in exchange for second-round picks in 2020 and 2021, as well as Sam Gagner going to the Detroit Red Wings. I feel bad for Gagner in this, I do. I think he's played relatively well for Edmonton this year when he's been called on, and it's kind of too bad that they had to make this move, but money out, money in, right? Athanasiou has struggled defensively, but they're not going to be looking for him to play a defensive role with Detroit, so we'll see how things go for him as a member of the Oilers. The Oilers were also busy picking up Tyler Ennis from the Ottawa Senators in exchange for a 2021 5th-round draft pick. That's a steal in my eyes. I think Ennis has been a pretty solid forward in Ottawa. He won't get as much ice time in Edmonton, but that 13 goals that he scored for us, or no, he had 14 goals and 33 points. Some of these guys fetched a lot less than we might have thought. And Ennis and Athanasiou added to the Oilers. Pretty good day for Edmonton. They didn't sacrifice a whole lot to get there. Calgary, they had a day of trying to fix their blue line. Derek Forbort joins the team from LA for a 2021 fourth round draft pick. And then they acquired Eric Gustafson from Chicago for a 2020 third. That's something. Gustafson, I am very surprised it only cost a third round pick to get Gustafson. I think Calgary did very well there. So Calgary, I think, did well today. Again, I don't think anybody shifted it to where now they're a contender where they weren't before, but I think some teams shored themselves up nicely. Speaking of which, Pittsburgh, they get Connor Sherry back in exchange with the Buffalo Sabres. Also pick up Evan Rodriguez. Hopefully he hits in Pittsburgh. And Dominic Cahoon goes the other way to Buffalo. He struggled with injuries this year, and we'll see how things go for him with Buffalo. Carolina, this is where they win the day for me. Sami Vatanen, who is a rental. He is acquired by Carolina in exchange for Yanni Kuokkanen, going the other way, as well as Frederick Claesson and a 2020 fourth round pick. Now, Claesson wasn't listed on, I think it was Sportsnet didn't list Claesson, so TSN did, or one or the other. And some of these trades, some of the details do get changed in terms of what is reported and then what actually happens. So again, if any of these if there's incorrect details, I apologize. But again, this was a chaotic trade deadline. Vegas has picked up Robin Lehner. So their lack of faith in Malcolm Subban is real. I have felt this for a while. Lehner joins the team in exchange for a second in 2020. Malcolm Subban goes to Chicago, and Slava Demin is also going to Chicago. We'll see if that ends up being anything, but for Vegas, now they have two goaltenders. This is what they've needed for a while. Now you sit down with Lehner and you make it work. And apparently Lehner had talked about a contract with Chicago, but it never really got very far. So we'll see how Lehner does in Vegas. He's bounced around quite a bit now. We'll see if Vegas is that stop where he ends up sticking around. And again, Fleury and Lehner, that could be a really good tandem. And this is what Vegas has needed. So they did very well today in my eyes as well. Brady Shea goes to Carolina. I didn't see that coming. And a 2020 first goes to the New York Rangers. That surprises me. On a day where they signed Chris Kreider and they're keeping Chris Kreider, that they would move a first-round draft pick. Or they would acquire a first-round draft pick for Shea. So it's a pretty steep price to pay for Carolina as well if this doesn't work, if they end up missing the playoffs. So they add Vatanen, they add Shea, they didn't add a goaltender. All that we know is that it looks like it's long-term for both Reimer and Mrazek. We just don't know how long. So this is pretty big day for Carolina, and I think this improves their blue line a lot. Vatanen and Shea. So when Pesce gets back, that's a fantastic blue line they have in Carolina. Montreal, they weren't done. They traded Nick Cousins to Vegas, so Vegas picks up a depth forward. 2021 fourth going back the other way. Nick Cousins is a guy who can tick the other team off. Basically, for lack of a better way of putting it, he skates around agitating the team, and he can put the puck in the net occasionally as well. So he's a decent pickup for Vegas. 2020 first was then acquired in a robbery by the San Jose Sharks in exchange for Barclay Goodrow. Now, Frank Saravelli on Twitter has and I get it. He's pointed out that Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow being picked up by Tampa, part of it is because they're both signed for next year. Now, with Coleman, I can understand it. Barclay Goodrow's not worth a first-round draft pick. And I'm telling you, if it's this year's first-round draft pick, and I saw to be determined on one site and another one reporting that it was first, that's too much. That is just, it is such a dramatic, in my opinion, it's a dramatic overpayment to stay under the cap, if that's even what this is. Like, I just, and I guess he can try to justify it. It just, I don't understand it, because for Barclay Goodrow, his ceiling isn't that high, so we'll see how it goes. Vancouver picks up Louis Domingue for Zane McIntyre going to New Jersey. This is substantial. We'll come back to it. 2021 fourth was added this morning by the Ottawa Senators in exchange for Vlad Nemesnikov going to Colorado. I like that deal for Colorado quite a bit. Depth forward for the Colorado Avalanche, who added Hutchinson, and that's it. They didn't really do anything else. Devon Shore was added by the Anaheim Ducks for Sonny Milano. I got these backwards because, of course, I'm used to, anyways. It's just this where I'm used to them being. So Devin Shore's now a member of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Sonny Milano to Anaheim. Sonny's needed a change of scenery for a while, right? Sonny Milano's needed to get out of Columbus for a while, and Devin Shore, decent enough, third/fourth line player. So this is just one in, one out. This is a hockey trade. These happen every now and then. Ta-da, hockey trade. There are actually a few hockey trades on this board. I'm actually kind of impressed. And then in other news from today, Jake Muzzin signs a 4-year, $22.5 million contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs, which has a cap hit of $5.65 million a year. So that's a pricey contract. But I think Jake Muzzin is worth it. So they announced that today. And apparently, according to Jim Benning, who looked kind of distressed with this news, and rightfully so, I'm going to say that as a Canucks fan, it's distressing. Jacob Markstrom could be out a month. Jacob Markstrom could be out a month for Vancouver. They're saying 3 weeks, and it could be a month. So for Vancouver fans, if you think Demko can be a starter, now you're going to find out. And I like Demko. I really hope that he has a Shesterkin-like run from here, because for Vancouver, they need it. They went out and got Toffoli. They're clearly all in on the idea of making the playoffs this year. It's going to be tough without Markstrom. It is going to be really tough without Markstrom. He has stolen a lot of games for them this year. Of course, he's up for a new contract next year. And now we get to see how the Canucks might look without Markstrom and Domingue be the backup. So I mentioned during the live stream, well, Domingue won't come in. That's good. They pick up a guy who's a depth guy. That's fine. Domingue's going to end up being the backup. So this gets a little dicier now than what I thought on the surface of it, now that we know Markstrom's going to be out for likely a month. I'm saying 3 weeks, but maybe a month. He's had an MRI and all that stuff. MRIs aren't good. They don't send you for an MRI because you feel too good. So hopefully it's not that bad. So there you go. This is my review of what happened today. If there's a deal that's not on the board, and I know there's a few that aren't, it's because it's such a minor or AHL level deal. The only reason the Leafs one with Rosen for Hutchinson is on there is because Rosen going back to Toronto, that's not what I had expected. And I imagine Toronto fans are expecting some answers. So we'll see on Tim and Sid today what the answers are. Don't rule out another news video later on in the day, and other details coming out on trades or signings or whatever's going to happen, because it's been a chaotic day, and I get the feeling it's not over yet. So who won trade deadline day today? Because I know everybody wants to talk about winners and losers. Keep in mind, the cup wasn't handed out today. So I think Carolina did well, because I think they shored up the blue line that they needed to shore up with Pesce out, and I think they did well to do that. At the same time, I think that most teams did pretty well. The asking prices seem to kind of be lower than we may have expected. There's a lot of 4th and 5th round draft picks on here where I'd expected maybe 3rds or 4ths. It's a little later. And a lot of them for the 2021 draft. It is almost like guys don't want to trade the 2020 drafts as much. So we'll see. We'll see how this turns out and who ends up winning. But let me know who you think did well today. That's as close as I'll go to saying winners. I think Calgary and Edmonton, I think, did well for themselves. I think Carolina did as well. And I don't see any team and go, oh, what losers they are. I don't see that at all. Not today. I didn't think there were any crazy trades. I didn't think there were any trades that were huge head scratchers. Other than this Barclay Goodrow, this can't be a first. I even delayed doing this video because I'm like, it can't actually be a first, right? But reputable sources are saying it's a first. How do you... Okay. I guess a first round draft pick's expensive. I don't know. Anyways, I guess Pixel's not happy about it either. Knock it off. Knock it off. Knock it off. No. No, knock it off. Both of you. Knock it off. And you don't get involved at all. He gets involved and then it gets ugly. So there you go. 3 cats on the tree and a bunch of trades on the board. This is madness. All right. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. And if you like cat videos, you might like this channel too. So there you go. Hockeys and cats. Hockey and cats. Hockey doesn't need to be plural. Okay. I will talk to you guys again likely very soon. Thank you for all your support, for everybody who came out for the live stream. That was fun. Thank you guys so much for making that fun. And I will talk to you again soon. And can you cats just get along? Just knock it off. They all want to be superstars.